Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching India Fights Back with your host Kriti Mishra. Government of India is clearing and apportioning global aid to strengthen tertiary medical care across states and UTs for COVID-19 management. Cumulatively, 9,284 oxygen concentrators, 7,033 oxygen cylinders, 19 oxygen generation plants, 5,933 ventilators, and over 3.44 lakh remdesivir vials have been delivered or dispatched through road and air so far. Prime Minister Modi has chaired a high level meeting to review the availability and supply of oxygen. It was discussed that the supply of oxygen is now more than three times the supply during the peak of the first wave. And to discuss the way forward for augmenting oxygen and vaccine supply, I'm joined by very distinguished guests on the panel today. Joining me on the program, Professor Narendra Kumar Arora, Chairman COVID 19 Working Group of National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, and Professor N.K. Ganguly, former Director General, Indian Council of Medical Research. Welcome to Rathabha Television, both of you.
Thank you.
And Professor Ganguly, coming to you first, the supply of oxygen is now more than three times the supply during the peak of the first wave. Going ahead, sir, the supply-demand situation would be managed and shortages would be addressed.
Yeah, actually, it has already been addressed. Our problem was that oxygen plants were in far away places, far away from metro cities. And the need was around 10%, 90% was going to industry. Industry and healthcare oxygen is similar, only 3% purity change. So there was no dearth of oxygen. Main was that how to bring those oxygen to the places where they are needed, and it is very difficult for them to be transported by trucks as well as by train, because it took 7 to 8 hours, 9 hours, because they were in remote places. So this problem has been solved now by having cryogenic containers which were purchased by the government as well as which were obtained from the gift from other sources. So these could be transported by plane, and the Indian Air Force came up and transported these to the places. So this particular problem has been solved. The other problem was creating oxygen at the sites where they are needed. So that has also been done now. So the new oxygen plants are being set up. Some of them have been set up within the hospitals in record times. Uh, within 6 to 7 hours, they have been made operational. Third strategy was to give oxygen plants to the hospital, large hospitals, so that they can make their own oxygen. Finally, one more strategy was adopted, that we need to really create different kind of distribution, because you cannot make overnight cylinders. Oxygen, when you fill them in cylinders are steel cases. It is very difficult to make them overnight. So cylinders have been imported from many places, and new way of distributing oxygen has been also set up. So everything is in place now. Only thing what we need to do is that give this particular charge to those who are the expert in inventories as well as supply chains, because these are not the doctors, nor these are the hospitals. These are entirely different kind of people, and these are also not the government administrators. These are there in India. One of the best example is Amazon, okay, or DHL or others, who can go to the even remote places, even in deserts, as soon as, and they find out the needs and they stock their things according to that. So this is something which need to be done. Government is managing supply chain now, and maybe the distribution has improved, and I think we will not suffer from lack of oxygen. Only problem will come to reach oxygen in the secondary healthcare systems in the districts, and since it has gone to villages, some of the healthcare systems over there, So that is one area which the government has to now address and reach the supplies over there. There is one more thing which has come up, and I will finish with this. There is a 2-deoxy-D-glucose. 2-deoxy-D-glucose was there. It is known as a theranostic. What it does, that it can diagnose and it can be therapeutic. So it was used for two purposes. One, it was used as a contrast to see that whether the cancer is getting cured when you were giving therapy. It also partially was a therapeutic for several cancers and others. This particular molecule enters into the cell through a transporter system which is known as glucose transporter. And there it doesn't get metabolized because glucose goes through a metabolism through a pathway known as glycolysis, which is carried out by an enzyme known as hexokinase. It neutralizes hexokinase, so glucose is there. So it removes it. It reduces the viral load. It inhibits its transcription. It also can hold oxygen. So about 20 to 30% oxygen holding occurs. So most of the people who are in oxygen will not have to go to ventilators. Going to ventilator is the most dangerous thing in this particular situation. About 90% of the people who are going to ventilator are not surviving because they go in extreme stages over there. So this molecule is not an alternate to oxygen. It doesn't provide oxygen, but it creates the need of the oxygen. It reduces the need of the oxygen within the cells. So with all this, I think we are not in a very bad situation. Only we will have to, we were addressing the metros and the tertiary care cities. We need to now address that how do we reach these supplies to the secondary care system and primary care system in our country.
Absolutely, sir. That's a breakthrough solution from the DRDO. But you flagged a very important point about supplying these to the tertiary sectors or to the villages or to the remote areas. Professor Arora, how do we do that? What's the way ahead?
So, we are today the largest producer of oxygen. And as very rightly mentioned, that during last 4 weeks or 6 weeks, maybe from mid-March to mid-May, 8 weeks, the production capacity and delivery has increased by 3 times. So it is not a mean achievement. The second thing is, with all the other things, here I would like to bring 2 points. One is, I do not know how many of us are aware that CoWIN platform primarily was for maintaining supply line of cold chain, vaccine cold chain supply line. And so that there are 29,000 points across the country. And at any time, if there is a breakdown in cold chain equipment, at the central point, one knows, obviously at state and district level also they know. So it's a real-time monitoring system of the whole supply chain. I think exactly similar, the learning of last 6-8 weeks, that we should have a similar IT platform for maintaining oxygen. And I think the second important thing which has got kind of dawned on us, that we need to have a decentralized system of oxygen management. And as I understand, every district hospital and maybe corporate hospitals of a certain size and others, they will have to have oxygen manufacturing plant. 2. And the third is, I think, very important, and this issue of what one should say, accountability. I think the way during last 6 weeks we have seen the worst of human side when people have tried to profiteering on both oxygen as well as drugs. So accountability and auditing system, I think there is sufficient oxygen in the system, but people are hoarding. Those who can afford, they have kept cylinders in their house, concentrators in their house without any need for them. And so when the real, those who require, so 2 things I'm saying. One is a mechanism of supply chain maintenance using IT platform across the country, which can go up to PHCs, and it is possible because we have the experience with COVID, which was primarily for cold chain. The second is, I think, a very rigorous auditing mechanism has to be there. So in case of difficult times, nobody is able to do the kind of things which we have kind of seen and with a lot of pain during last 6 weeks or so.
Absolutely, sir. You made a very important point about accountability and also about audits. Professor Ganguly, rampant misuse of oxygen in COVID hospitals, that has been a big concern that audit teams have been flagging since a very long time. Now, how do we develop a very robust system to check this?
Actually, there has been, this is without doubt, that there has been misuse of oxygen also. Okay, because everyone needed it and they used it even when you could manage it otherwise. So there has been strong guidelines. What was lacking was that the training, that how and when we use it and when we don't use it. Make so there are about 80 to 90% people can be managed through home care. They become all right, and they don't need even antibiotics. So you don't need to load them with remdesivir or other huge number of 2 or 3 antibiotics. There's so much is happening towards the antimicrobial resistance fund. So much antibiotic is being used either by self-consumption by those who think they have got the disease, or by the caregivers who are prescribing them. So we need to really see that the guidelines, which have been very painstakingly made by the government as well as contributed by the healthcare fraternity, they have learned so much about this disease and they have contributed, corrected. So we need to adhere to that. But what happens that most of the experts are concentrated into larger hospitals, better healthcare systems. Many of the others are new to the whole thing, and they need to get a training. They need to get trained that what to use in what situation, and the standard of care for each situation is defined. That when do you use remdesivir, when do you use plasma, when do you use oxygen. So these need to be really made into, are really very correctly going to subject, so that we don't really harm the subject. Because one of the major dictum in caregiver system is that you don't harm people. The other thing we need to do, that we need to really train our nurses. We have a very large nursing force. We need to get student nurses and others brought in, well trained, the new doctors well trained, so that these things are handled properly. Remdesivir, as you know, is now no longer in short supply. It was unfortunate because we got a dip in COVID infection, so people started returning it to company. So company stopped manufacturing it. So there was no remdesivir. Now, when we ask them to make remdesivir, it takes 23 days to take that into market because it is injectable. It has to undergo sterility test. I actually solved this problem. I will take partial credit for this, because what happened that I am chairman of the Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission. It sets up these rules and laws. So there we set up a quick microbiological test for the sensitivity, for the sterility. And that brought the remdesivir quickly into the market. Gilead, etc., and other countries also donated it. So now we have no shortage. I will be very clear about that there is no shortage. Only we need to use it judiciously, not use it everywhere as it is being used, and particularly in the small healthcare establishment. And we need to, as Dr. Arora said, I actually am very clear about it. We need to do pharmacy audits, and we need to do a prescription audits. all prescriptions which are being made into the different hospitals, they need to go to a cloud, and a group of people should audit that, analyze that, and see whether exactly the treatment schedules and treatment the guidance are being followed by those who need to follow this.
Absolutely, sir. The demand and the supply side bottlenecks are being addressed. But let's shift our focus to the vaccination drive now. Professor Arora, the cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country has exceeded 77 under the base of the nationwide vaccination. What are your views on both this drive?
Kriti, I could not hear you completely, but what I heard was that uh, over 17 crore individuals have received the
Yes.
vaccine.
Yes, sir. Our vaccination drive, sir, being the most complex and biggest in the world.
Yes, and in fact, we just reviewed the data half an hour ago, and the proportion of sickness and death is very similar as we saw it in the first. That three-fourths of the deaths as well as the sickness is in the population group of 45 and more. So we should focus at the moment, particularly in the context of vaccine insufficiency or inadequacy we have, at least for next 2 or 3 months. The focus should be on people over the age of 45 years. After all, the current purpose of the vaccine, given the limitation, should be so that our pressure on the health system reduces. Deaths are less people are admitted in the hospital, so that younger people, if as and when they get sick, they get better opportunity for care, because otherwise system is collapsing in that sense. And but on the other hand, it is not a issue of despondency. We have done extremely well within a short period. Immunizing 200 million people is no joke. I mean, it's a huge achievement, and that we must continue with a lot of pride, and and see that we pick up the rate even faster, so that, because our targets are very high, we have to immunize at least 100 crores, because that
Right.
is what is the population above the age of 18 years. And that, if we want to immunize in next 6 months or so, we will need around 50 to 60 lakh people immunized every day. Then only we will be able to achieve.
Absolutely, sir. But Professor Ganguly, Government of India has so far provided more than 18 crore vaccine doses to states and UTs free of cost. That's what we understand. And states were also briefed about procurement from the other than Government of India channel, which has been opened in the liberalized phase 3 strategy of vaccination. How are the states faring, sir? What should they do? Of course, several of them have given global tenders.
So actually, at this given moment, Indian manufacturing cannot catch up with the demand, because we have now opened it to a very large segment of population, 18 plus. And now, since the vaccine is also in several countries, has now been given to 12 to 15-year-old, our trials are being going on up to 2-year older and others. So the demand will be huge, and our capacities to manufacture that amount is going to take more time. Although 3 more companies will come up with their produce, and it may ease up. But at the moment, the people are so afraid with in our country, vaccine hesitancy is not there. People are queuing up and lining. This is very good. But we have to very quickly vaccinate, the way how America vaccinated nearly 200 million, and now they had a hesitancy. So we need to quickly vaccinate, and for this purpose, rightly now the government has now opening up and creating feelers for importing the vaccines. Some donations have also come, because there is a little problem in the import, because you have to book well in advance, because the production lines in the companies are fixed. They normally, how America and Europe did, They said that whether this vaccine succeeds or not, you go on producing. We will dump into the sea if it doesn't work. So they had a ready vaccine available. We couldn't do that kind of a thing. And so, and then the global pandemic induced others to go on madly booking the productions all around the globe. So we have to now, we have to do very good strategization, and we have to book our vaccine through global tenders. And some of those international companies are now considering coming to India and produce. Like Moderna, the Tata Group is in consultation with Moderna that whether they will produce here or not. The Pfizer is also thinking of producing within India. So these things will happen, but these are going to take time. What we need to do, I've identified the vaccines which we want through global tenders and quickly push the orders. And what we do now is this: we strategize that how do we do it. We have done that. The first mad rush has gone. We have done that. That give first to 45 plus, give first to those who received the first dose and give it to second dose. And then now we need to do what we need to do. Those who need it most, those who are going out to work, because we can't be in the lockdown, we have to open up. So those who are staying at home, they come later on the line. Those who are going out to work, the age group of 25 and above, we need to vaccinate them quickly. So we need to do some micro management and micro analysis and take care of them. Now the pregnant women are dying. If they get infection, they are certain to die. So there are vaccines which have been now approved for pregnancy. So we need to import small quantities of them and provide to pregnant women in antenatal care and save them so that they do not die. We, in the same prioritization, we need to immunize the teachers, school teachers, so that school could open for the small kids and others. The school could open quickly as soon as we are able to open that. So strategization of vaccination will be very, very important. The other thing will be communication and advocacy. Like everyone above 18 is madly moving towards that I need to get vaccine, I'm not getting vaccination, and how will I get it? So that is the problem. When government has solved that their vaccine centers are now, we have entered into the villages also. Our primary healthcare, the EPI vaccination center, which Dr. Arora knows very well, is well established. And this could take care of getting vaccine to rural areas also, because if we don't do that, we will be in trouble. So that will be another strategy. When we have done that, what we need to do, 30% of vaccines are consumed by the private sector, those who have money in their pocket. And that number in India is not small. It is 330 million people. The whole population of United States of America, they can afford healthcare anywhere. So people are saying that government should provide vaccine free. Okay, government is providing vaccine free, but it is bleeding. It has also to put money into the pocket of the migrant workers or poor people who are out of the job. So why not open up provide the vaccine in the private sector, and those who can afford it, price it in a way that at least 1/3 of that price supports the rest of the population to be vaccinated. So put the pricing accordingly. And private sector does everything very efficiently because it is done by managers who are very, very efficient. Only problem will come. There is one problem in that. Unless we create this free vaccination to the appropriate people, robust, there will be unrest, because they will see that those who have a Rolls Royce like you, because your drawing room is so beautiful, you will get vaccinated. Okay, and I, who was riding a bicycle, will not get a vaccine. So that is the issue that will create a unrest within the country. So we have to tread in a very measured and calibrated way and open up the private sector when we can. Then we will be okay. The main thing is, at this huge raging pandemic, vaccinate as many as possible, as quickly as possible.
Absolutely, sir. Vaccinating people as quickly as possible, but that also requires ramping up production. Professor Arora, lastly, the center is in discussion with vaccine manufacturers across to ramp up production of jabs to meet the increasing demand. We understand that it is also supporting the states to ensure that the vaccination coverage is expanded at the earliest for this phase. What are the other efforts that we need to put in?
So, a little bit a positive side that we expect that by August, September, we should be having about 20 crore doses per month, as contrast to about 7 crore doses currently. So, in about 3 months or 4 months. Plus, I understand that some of the international players, as Professor Ganguly is saying, Pfizer, Moderna, want to set up a manufacturing facility. But simultaneously, I would also say that some of our novel vaccines are also going to be there in the market. DNA vaccine by Cadila, our mRNA vaccine by Genova, that should also be here in the market by September or so. So I think second half of the year would be a much comfortable position. We should be able to immunize the various age groups. And as we know, the pediatric trial has just started and it should finish by September. So yesterday somebody was asking and I said, yes, in October onwards, we should be able to immunize if the results are in the right direction, even our children from 2 year onwards, because one very important thing is children's cognitive development occurs not at home but in the school with peer interaction with teachers. And so if we want to open up our primary school particularly, I think young children need to be immunized, and hopefully and God willing we should be able to do that in the later third, fourth quarter of this year.
Absolutely, sir. Keeping our fingers crossed, but I'm completely out of time on the show. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. Well, that's all we had for you in this edition of India Fights Back. But before that, let me remind you once again to stay safe from the coronavirus pandemic. Remember to wear a face mask and wash your hands and face regularly, and ensure that you maintain physical distancing whenever you're stepping outside. These simple precautions are all it takes to defeat the pandemic. Take very good care and goodbye.